The epic saga of the hunt begins with Ishmael, a young man plagued by profound existential malaise, a feeling akin to a damp, drizzly November in my soul, who seeks a physical and spiritual remedy in a whaling voyage, viewing the sea as his substitute for pistol and ball. He is tormented with an everlasting itch for things remote and loves to sail forbidden seas. Ishmael arrives in New Bedford, Massachusetts, where he encounters Queequeg, a massive, tattooed harpooner from the remote Pacific island of Kakavoko. Despite initial terrors over Queequeg's cannibalistic history, Ishmael recognizes a simple, honest heart beneath the unearthly tattooings, and the two form an immediate, profound bond, deeming themselves married. They sail to Nantucket aboard the Moss, the famous old island which Ishmael describes as a mere elbow of sand, a place dedicated entirely to an activity, whaling, that occurs on the other side of the world. There, they sign aboard the Pequod, an antique ship laden with the bones and teeth of whales, creating a gruesome yet magnificent aesthetic, making her a cannibal of a craft. Her co-owners are Captain Peleg, a blustering Quaker, and the miserly, pietistic Captain Bildad, who argue openly about the minimal lay, or share of the profits, Ishmael is to receive. The ship's formidable commander, Captain Ahab, finally appears, a figure of terrifying grandeur. Ahab is physically marked. He bears a livid white scar and stands on a replacement leg fashioned from the polished bone of a sperm whale's jaw. Ahab immediately gathers the crew and reveals his singular, obsessive purpose, not profit, but vengeance against Moby Dick, the malignant, colossal snow-white sperm whale. Moby Dick is distinguished by his wrinkled brow and crooked jaw, and is invested with an inscrutable malice that makes him relentlessly destructive. To compel the crew's allegiance to this monomaniac purpose, Ahab nails a Spanish gold doubloon, a $16 piece, to the mainmast, promising it to the man who first sights the white whale. Ahab condemns the whale as the symbolic incarnation of all evil and all the subtle demonisms of life and thought, swearing he would strike the sun if it insulted me. He compels the crew to swear an oath, drinking fiery grog from the inverted, hollow sockets of their harpoons. Death to Moby Dick. God hunt us all, if we do not hunt Moby Dick to his death. The chief mate, Starbuck, a sober Quaker, is appalled by the blasphemy of Ahab's vengeful motive, recognizing that Ahab's soul is overmanned and that he is driven by a madness maddened. However, Ahab, who can withstand all external opposition, is able to force Starbuck into a tacit acquiescence. The atmosphere thickens with supernatural warnings. The mysterious, hidden crew under the Parsi prophet, Fedallah, is revealed. Ahab had taken private measures to secure Fedallah and 4 tiger yellow crewmen, hiding them in the hold before the ship sailed. They are seen on deck when Ahab lowers his own private boat. Before sailing, the prophetic vagrant, Elijah, tries to warn Ishmael and Queequeg, asking if they had signed anything down about their souls and dropping ambiguous hints about Ahab's past, including the Cape Horn fit, the silver calabash, and the lost leg, which Elijah implies occurred, according to the prophecy. The voyage is marked by philosophical digressions on whaling and cetology, the science of whales, arguing that the sperm whale is indisputably the largest and most formidable whale, and observing that the animal's whiteness invests it with an additional, chilling horror, symbolizing the heartless voids and immensities of the universe. Ishmael records the constant dangers of the hunt, including the terrifying moment he is tethered by the monkey rope to Queequeg, who is operating on the dead whale's back, realizing that his own identity is now merged in a joint stock company of 2, demonstrating that all men live enveloped in whale lines. The journey is punctuated by encounters with other ships, each bringing ill omens. The ghostly albatross, whose captain loses his trumpet before he can answer Ahab's inquiry. The Jeroboam, whose crazed prophet Gabriel curses Ahab, predicting doom for the pursuit. And the Rachel, whose captain, Gardiner, desperately begs Ahab to help search for his missing boat containing his little son. But Ahab refuses, prioritizing his own quest. The white whale's near presence is signaled by the recurring vision of the spirit spout, a solitary silvery jet that appears night after night, constantly beckoning the Pequod onward. As the Pequod nears the Japanese cruising ground, Ahab begins to throw himself entirely into the pursuit, dashing his quadrant, the instrument of calculated science, to the deck, swearing he will guide his way only by the level ship's compass and the level dead reckoning. Starbuck, in an anguished moment alone, considers killing Ahab to save the crew, but cannot bring himself to it. The final chase takes place over 3 days near the equator. First day, Moby Dick breaches, leaping salmon-like to heaven, exposing his hump like a snow hill. The whale immediately assaults the 3 boats, eventually biting Ahab's boat in twain and submerging Ahab himself. The ship saves the men, but Ahab loses his new ivory leg, and the Parsi, Fedella, is lost, caught among the tangled lines. Second day, the ship continues the pursuit, despite Starbuck's impassioned pleas for Ahab to desist, reminding him that Moby Dick seeks not the Pequod, but that it is thou that madly seekest him. Ahab dismisses all omens, swearing that he is the fate's lieutenant and that the act is immutably decreed. As the day ends, Moby Dick is still visible, swimming steadily to leeward, towing the lines and harpoons he carries. Third day, the weather is fair, but Ahab feels himself driven on by a cozening, hidden lord and master. The whale is sighted, and Ahab, forehead to forehead, darts his last harpoon into the monster. Moby Dick speeds off, and Ahab, stooping to clear a foul turn in the line, is violently shot out of the boat by the running line, which catches him around the neck. The whale, seeing the ship as the source of his persecution, turns and smashes his solid white buttress of his forehead against the Pequod's starboard bow, sinking the vessel. The Pequod is sucked down into the sea's vortex. The Indian harpooner, Tashtigo, is the last man seen, pinned to the mainmast as he attempts to nail Ahab's flag faster, but he sinks with the ship, dragging a skyhawk down with him. The sea rolls over the wreck, forming the great shroud of the sea. Ishmael alone survives. He was one of the men tossed overboard and, being drawn toward the closing vortex, is miraculously kept afloat by Queequeg's unused coffin, which had been converted into a lifebuoy. After floating for almost 1 whole day and night on the dirge-like main, Ishmael is rescued by the Rachel, the ship that was searching for its lost children, only to find another orphan.